Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my Smackdown review. And this review is going to be on the Christmas Day edition of Smackdown. And I watched a little bit of this at my aunt and uncle's house because my cousin wanted to watch Smackdown, so I watched it with him. I still DVR'd it, still recorded it, if I missed anything. And I gotta say, this Smackdown. This was a good Smackdown. I really liked it. A lot of good matches that I enjoyed, and all in all, it was just a good show. And sorry if I sound a little nasally. Just came off from having a cold, and my nose is all stuffy. So excuse me if I sound a little nasally. But they ended up taping this Smackdown last week when they were in Fresno. Like after last week's Smackdown, they taped the Christmas Day edition. So, but the show opened up with R-Truth and Carmella coming out. R-Truth was dressed as Santa Claus, or as they called him, Truthy Claus. And Carmella was dressed as, an elf, as his elf. And so, Truth welcomes us to a Christmas edition of SmackDown Live. And he says he's been up all night delivering presents to the children of the WWE Universe with Carmella's help. And Truth says they had to stop at SmackDown as a present to themselves. And so he starts naming like the reindeer, and he ends up confusing the reindeers' names with the Jackson 5, which was funny. Then they have a 7-second Carol break, only for it to be interrupted by Daniel Bryan. And so Daniel Bryan ends up coming out. He ends up getting on the mic. And he says, as WWE Champion, he accepts that instead of spending time with his family, he says he has to be in this cesspool, which got, boos from the crowd. And he goes on to say what he doesn't accept is legitimizing Truthy Claus. And he says to R-Truth that R-Truth is not the real Santa Claus. And, Daniel Bryan, goes on to say, fickle to R-Truth and Carmella. He goes on to say he's not here to talk about truth, just like he exposed AJ Styles. And he says he will expose the real Santa Claus. So Daniel Bryan goes on to say that Santa Claus is the epitome of our cheap material desires. And he says all the cheap material desires for over 40 years has cost us half the coral reef on the planet. And that they made islands of misfit garbage in the ocean. And so basically, what Daniel Bryan is saying is that we are getting trash. So he goes on to say about the glaciers melting, the sea levels rising. He goes on to say that in 20 years there will be no North Pole and no Santa Claus. And he ends up saying that R-Truth's career has been a joke. And so Truth says to him that he's going to win the Royal Rumble. He's going to win the Men's Royal Rumble. Because he will be in at the number 30 slot at the Royal Rumble. And he says maybe if he wins the Royal Rumble, he will take the championship from Daniel Bryan. And so then he goes on to say that he will be the last one standing. That R-Truth will be the last one standing. That is, if Daniel Bryan is still champion at WrestleMania. And so Daniel says to R-Truth how will he expect to win the Rumble if he can't count to 30? And so R-Truth was like, oh, I can count to 30. And then so R-Truth starts counting. Daniel Bryan then ends up chop blocking R-Truth. He ends up hitting R-Truth's knee into the post, into the ring post. We see Daniel Bryan end up putting R-Truth into the heel hook. And then Carmella is there just screaming to Daniel Bryan, saying to him, enough, stop it. And so that's how the segment ended. But it was a good opening to SmackDown with R-Truth and Carmella and Daniel Bryan coming out. So really liked it. Then we had Mustafa Ali versus Andrade Cien Almas. This was a very good match. This was very entertaining. Mustafa Ali coming off and pretty much killing it on SmackDown. And Andrade, I'll get to that, in a second. But Mustafa Ali ended up getting the win. Ended up hitting the 054 on Andrade to score the win. So Mustafa Ali wins. But overall, it was a very good match. The both of them were good in this match, Mustafa and Andrade. And it sucks for Andrade. He's been on a losing streak, and from what I heard, Andrade, like in an article, said that Andrade is not happy about his position in WWE. And I wonder why. He's been losing matches. He hasn't been booked properly since come up to the main roster. And, he's won a few matches here and there. And then he wasn't used for, a few months. Then they bring him back. So I don't blame Andrade for being not happy with how, with how WWE is positioning him. Andrade is a former NXT champion. Andrade should be carrying gold around his waist. He should have a title. He should be wearing a title around his waist. He deserves it. At first, when Andrade came onto the picture in NXT, I wasn't the biggest fan of him. But when they brought in Zelina Vega, and he was really good. He did really good down in NXT when Zelina Vega was brought into the picture, and he's been on a roll since then. Since they brought in and paired it since WWE paired Zelina Vega up with Andrade. But Andrade needs to start winning some matches here. WWE needs to make Andrade start winning more matches. Because if he keeps losing, then he's going to be known as Andrade Jobber Almas. And we don't want to see that. The guy is talented. So, but all in all, like I said, Mustafa Ali, Andrade Cien Almas, very good match. Very entertaining. And then we had Samoa Joe cutting the promo. He was talking to Jeff Hardy, just giving a message to Jeff Hardy, saying he's glad to meet him in the ring, to meet him in the ring. And Joe says that he's concerned about Jeff Hardy. So Joe says last week Jeff said he was a strong man, and Joe saw a look in his eye, and that Joe goes on to say that Joe is his new addiction. And he's here to clear all the pain, anger, and rage driving Jeff Hardy unhealthy. Driving Jeff Hardy unhealthy. That it will fade. That all that will fade away. And so Joe says to Jeff, "It's for his own good." And then the promo ends. But some little hype for the match tonight. for their match. Then we had a 8-man tag team match. It was Gallows and Anderson and the Usos versus Sanity and Cesaro and Sheamus, The Bar. This was a decent 8-man tag team match. It was very entertaining. Back and forth between these teams. Them using Sanity. Now using Sanity. They showed up last week and now they were using them. This week. So we haven't seen Sanity in months. So, but in the end, Gallows and Anderson win the match. Gallows and Anderson and the Usos win the match. Gallows and Anderson end up hitting the Magic Killer to Cesaro. So Gallows and Anderson and the Usos win. All in all, decent 8-man tag team match. Then after that, we saw Mustafa Ali was shown backstage. He was hugging his former 205 Live competitors. Brian Kendrick, Akira Tozawa. He ends up shaking hands. We see him end up shaking hands with Cedric Alexander. And so Shelton Benjamin comes up to him. And he welcomes Mustafa to the SmackDown roster. And it's quite weird, how we see in Shelton Benjamin welcoming Mustafa Ali when Shelton Benjamin is a heel. So that's kind of weird. And we haven't seen Shelton Benjamin in a while. So he hasn't been used. He's just been on the sidelines and catering. Sorry about that, but I was saying Shelton Benjamin has just been on the sidelines and hasn't been used. And then we saw Shelton and Mustafa end up shaking hands. Mustafa ends up telling Benjamin that it means a lot. Then we see Mustafa Ali gets jumped by Daniel Bryan. And, Daniel Bryan was, attacking Mustafa Ali. And Daniel ends up shouting to him that, that Mustafa doesn't deserve to be here. Doesn't deserve to be on SmackDown. And so that was pretty nice to see, with Brian Kendrick, Akira Tozawa, and Cedric Alexander, hugging Mustafa backstage. And like I said, really weird that Shelton Benjamin would come up and shake Mustafa Ali's hand when Shelton Benjamin's supposed to be a heel. So then we had the Miz come out for Miz TV. He welcomes his guest Shane McMahon, who is Shane McMahon, and Miz ends up welcoming Shane. And Miz says, if Shane saw his tag team match last week. Shane says yes. And Miz asks Shane to tell us changes the McMahon family are bringing to SmackDown. And so Shane says both him and his family are overseeing Raw and SmackDown. And that they are listening to all of us. Bullshit. And Miz ends up saying to Shane that, he did an amazing job as commissioner. And that they didn't suffer like Raw did with Baron Corbin. Because SmackDown, of course, had Paige. And Miz says to Shane, for him to join his co-bestie and be the best tag team in the world. So the Miz still wants Shane to be his tag team partner. And Miz tells Shane, why he's begging him to be his partner. And Miz says it isn't about him, it's about his dad. So Miz goes on to say that his dad has never been proud of him for being a Grand Slam champion, being an 8-time Intercontinental champion, a 6-time Tag Team champion, a 2-time United States champion, a WWE champion, Mr. Money in the Bank, a 2-time Slammy Award winner, an actor, and reality star. So Miz's dad hasn't been proud of Miz for that. So Miz goes on to say that when he retained the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, his father told him that he should have thanked The Rock for helping him. And so he goes on to say every accomplishment he made in his life to make his dad proud. And his dad, basically always said no. And so Miz says him and Shane would be a good tag team. And Miz asked the crowd if they want to see Miz and Shane be the best tag team in the world. And so the crowd pops for that. They're doing Daniel Bryan's, old yes chants. And Shane says Miz better not screw him, because there will be some consequences. And so Shane accepts. Shane shakes hands with the Miz. And Miz was like, oh yeah, this guy doesn't do this anymore. I created it with the yes chants. Making a mock to Daniel Bryan. And that's how the segment ended. Sorry about that, but I was saying, that's how the segment ended. Now Shane McMahon is the Miz's new tag team partner. So eventually that was going to happen. But all in all, Miz TV segment, it was decent. Then we saw Rusev end up cutting a promo. Of course, he was with Lana. So Rusev was saying that, it's his birthday. And yes, it was Rusev's birthday, this week. And he said to celebrate, he's going to bring us a brand new United States champion when he defeats Shinsuke Nakamura. And it's going to be Rusev Day. So we had that promo from Rusev. Then we had Samoa Joe versus Jeff Hardy. This was a good match. It was an enjoyable match. It was back and forth between Joe and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy ended up coming out with the face paint of Christmas colors, like the green and red, which looked really cool. Always love Jeff Hardy's face paints that he does, to paint his face. Always stylish. But the end of the match ended up, getting really bad because Jeff Hardy was just stomping away at Joe, just stomping away, and then the ref ended up calling the match. The match ended in a disqualification. So Joe won by DQ because Jeff, was still being down on Joe. And then we saw Jeff Hardy end up sending Joe over the announcers table. And then Joe got up really fast and then locked in the coquina clutch on Jeff Hardy. And that's how it ended. And officials had to come down to make Joe break the coquina clutch off of Jeff Hardy. So apparently this feud is not over yet. Looks like we may get a match between the both of them at the Royal Rumble. But who knows if WWE is going to do that. Possibly we'll get a rematch this Tuesday on SmackDown, but who knows. All I know is that the feud is not over. And then we had Nakamura end up cutting a promo. saying the Total Diva. He's talking about Rusev. And you remember the promo that he cut last week, where he showed clips of Rusev from Total Divas. And so he goes on to say that the Total Diva, aka Rusev, has been asking for gold for Christmas. It says Rusev has been naughty this year, and all he will get is a knee to face. So that was the little promo that Nakamura cut. Then we had the Usos. They were walking, and they were saying, "Oh, we got a big win." And so Jimmy ends up telling Jay that he's going to find his wife. So he wishes Jay a Merry Christmas. So Jay walks off. Jimmy is then approached by Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. And Mandy says, "Do you know what this means?" Because it showed a mistletoe hanging. And so Jimmy ends up replying to Mandy Rose saying he doesn't know. And Mandy ends up telling him, "Oh, you don't know what, you're missing." And then we hear Naomi come and says, "Oh, I got what you are missing." And so she tries to go after Mandy Rose. Jimmy ends up holding her off. Naomi then ends up taking her heel shoe, and throws it, chases off Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. So then we see, Jimmy and Naomi, they're under the mistletoe, they share a kiss. Jimmy says, "Merry Christmas," and they both say, "I love you." And that was that. So, and, Mandy Rose and Naomi has been going at it on, from what I heard on Twitter. They were in like a Twitter war. And so they just been going back and forth. Eventually, this led to being on TV, and it's going to lead up to a match between Naomi and Mandy Rose. Apparently, from what I heard in the article, rumors saying that WWE wants to give a big push to Mandy Rose, and we all know how Vince loves his blonde woman. So. But apparently that's in the works, if it's true. WWE is going to give a push to Mandy Rose. And then we had the main event. Rusev versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship. This was a very good match. This was very entertaining. This match lasted for a half hour. And it was a good half hour with the both of them. Just back and forth between them. The wrestling in this match was really good. Rusev came off, very good in this match. Nakamura wasn't wearing his stupid figure skater attire that he wore, for like the past 2 weeks, where it was blue, which, like I said, he looked like a figure skater. So thank God he wasn't wearing that, because it didn't fit him. It looked stupid on him. And towards the end of the match, Rusev ended up hitting a Machka kick to Nakamura. Nakamura ended up kicking out of that, which shocked Rusev. And Nakamura, he ended up setting up, for trying to hit the Kinshasa on Rusev. Nakamura tried to go for it, tried to go for the Kinshasa, and Rusev ended up trying to get the Machka kick on Nakamura again, and Nakamura ended up moving. Nakamura ended up kicking Rusev, and then we just saw Rusev end up coming back with a wicked clothesline to Nakamura, which looked really cool. And then Rusev, was firing it up for the Machka kick. Ended up hitting Nakamura with a second Machka kick, and went for the pin. Rusev wins the match, and Rusev is the new United States champion, which was pretty, which was pretty cool, and the crowd really cheered for that. And the only reason why he pretty much won it was because of it was his birthday, and from what I heard, Nakamura dropped the United States Championship. This is rumored. It could be a step for Nakamura trying to leave WWE and possibly going back to New Japan. That's a rumor. That's what I heard. That's possibly a rumor why Nakamura ended up dropping the United States Championship. He's trying. Nakamura's trying to leave WWE. That's from what I heard. Since WWE is doing a terrible job, booking Nakamura. There was a time for those months that he wasn't even on TV. So, but that's what I heard. But all in all, the match itself, it was a good match. It was a good match for a half hour, and it was really enjoyable. So, and then we had SmackDown ended with AJ Styles walking, and he then gets approached by Vince McMahon, and AJ was like, "Oh, you wanted to see me?" And Vince McMahon was there, and Vince ends up telling Styles, he wants to know, his name and who he is. And Styles is like, "Oh, I'm AJ Styles. I'm the phenomenal one. 2-time WWE champion. And SmackDown Live, the house that he built." And so Vince says to Styles, why aren't you competing in your own house? And why isn't Daniel Bryan competing? And he's raising hell in the hallway. And so Vince was like, he doesn't get that. And so Vince goes on to say that, he wants to know who the real AJ Styles is. And he goes on to say that he sees superstars come and go. They win their championships. They own their money. They become complicit. And they go home. So Vince says him and Styles are alike. And that Styles has got a black hole in his heart. And a tremendous soul. And, that Styles, can't let it go. And that he goes on to say that Styles is afraid. And so Vince says if Styles harnesses that, he will brutalize the locker room and terrorize anyone in the ring. And Vince says to Styles that there's an animal inside of him. There's an animal inside of Styles. And he wants to see it. So Vince ends up slapping Styles. Weak slap. In my opinion, it was a very weak slap. And then Styles ends up coming back and punches Vince. Vince drops to the floor. Jamie Noble comes in and officials come in. And Jamie Noble, we hear Jamie Noble say to Styles, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so Styles ends up leaving. Referee goes to check on Vince. Says to Vince if he's alright. And Vince says, he's good. And he lays back, with a smile on his face. And that's how SmackDown went off the air. And this was a very unexpected thing that happened. Wasn't expecting to see Styles punch Vince, and this is pretty much Vince trying to get that McMahon touch into Styles. So we gotta see where this is gonna go. From what I heard, this is just going to be a way for Styles to maybe, show up on, maybe to go to Raw in 2019 in the new year, to have them, build up Styles, and for him to be the house for Monday Night Raw. That's one thing that I heard. That's a rumor. Maybe we're gonna get a new AJ Styles. Maybe Styles is gonna turn heel. So pretty much, that was that. Very unexpected to see Styles punch Vince. It was very unexpected. So we're gonna see where WWE goes with this. So anyways, that's it for my SmackDown review for the December 25th edition, the Christmas Day edition of SmackDown. So thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, which next week is going to be the start of Raw and SmackDown. I'm going to be reviewing them every single week on Monday and Tuesday. So it's going to be back to that. No random days where I'm going to review Raw, like if it's on like a Thursday, or if I review SmackDown on like a Saturday like today. It's not going to be that no more. So every week it's going to be Raw and SmackDown reviews, every week when the shows go off the air. So so anyways, thank you all for watching, and until the next video, I'll see you all later.